Did you know that in order to get rid of a bad habit, it's actually not about stopping it, it's about replacing it? Or have you ever heard about the 3-step process that every habit goes through in order to be formed? If you haven't, stay tuned, where in this video, I will be showing you 7 steps used towards how I created better eating habits. And I'll also be breaking down how all habits are formed so you can use it to your advantage. To start this off, I'm going to be going over the 3-step process that every habit goes through in order to be formed. It's like a triangle, like all powerful things in this world, they come in sets of 3s. So this is how habits are formed. First, there is going to be a cue or a trigger. There's going to be something that reminds you, like that little in your stomach, that's like, I'm hungry. That's the cue, that's the trigger showing you, all right, you need to eat. And then the next part comes a routine, which is going to be the process of eating, like going to your fridge, grabbing out the thing, cutting it into small bite-sized pieces, and then putting it on a plate and putting some salt and pepper on it, whatever the process or routine is. That is going to be the second step. And then the third step is going to be eating that, and the little gut buddies in your stomach being like, yay, because you're finally feeding them, and that cue is being not only rewarded, but it's completing its cycle until that next cue of that hunger comes again. But in order to form a routine of good eating habits, you have to understand that form of cue. Oh, I'm hungry. Routine of, going to my fridge and grabbing this, and then that reward of your little gut buddies being like, yay, and there's a way to use that for your advantage, and it's all about changing the routine by being aware of those cues and how you want to reward yourself. All right, so we're not going to get too deep into that part because that's not what this video is about. We're actually going over 7 tips and things that I have used to replace bad eating habits, because believe it or not, it's not about getting rid of habits, it's about replacing them. And the first one that I started was, I told myself, okay, I need to start drinking more water, because drinking more water actually makes you feel less hungry, which is crazy, but my mom always told me that. And speaking of that, I'm actually kind of thirsty right now. Anyways, so just like drinking more water, and if you want to spice it up a little bit, add some chopped up cucumbers in there, or lemons in there. Don't try to get too crazy and add a bunch of fruits in there, because believe it or not, even eating fruits, which are very high in sugar, is not the best for you. But that goes into another habit. If you are going to be eating sugar, do not drink it. Get rid of all of your soda and replace it with a sparkling water if you need. Because believe it or not, your brain is addicted to the bubbles. Yes, sugar and high fructose corn syrup are very, very addictive. They've actually been tested to be as addictive as cocaine. But the trigger and the cue that makes you keep grabbing that soda and getting that little reward is the bubbles. And I promise you that, because I have switched out all sugar and all sodas in my diet for bubbly, because bubbly is my favorite sparkling water, but that's besides the point. We are going to get into another tip. If you are going to eat your sugars, which I do not suggest. Eating a lot of sugars. There are certain people who can eat more sugars, which depends on your blood type, so go ahead and search that on Google. But try to eat fruit instead of eating that piece of chocolate cake, you know? It's better to get natural sugars than it is to get unnatural sugars. And I know that's really hard to change up, but these are all just tips on little things that you can eventually do. I don't expect anybody to do them all at once, obviously. I wasn't capable of doing it, but these are tips that you can practice and then eventually just end up completely replacing, because that's how we create good habits. But that would be tip 3, is to stay away from those unnatural sugars, and if you are craving sugar, to go with the more natural sugars that come with fruits. I would really suggest like raspberries, blueberries, bananas, or apples. Again, go ahead and Google them. Figure out how much sugars they have in them if you really want to. But we're gonna jump into that next tip, which is tip 4, and it's all about chocolate. And I don't know about you guys, but I love chocolate. And what you want to do with chocolate is, if you do end up craving some chocolate, it is actually best to eat dark chocolate. Not only does it have less sugar in it, and by the way, you should be going with 72% cocoa. I think I said that right. But if I didn't, correct me. But you'd want to go with a minimum of 72%. I use 100% because I'm a weirdo, but I also dip it in some almond butter, which is delicious, by the way. It's like a homemade little chocolate bar that's good for you. But if you do want some chocolate, stray away from that milk chocolate and go with the dark chocolate, because it actually also releases endorphins in your brain that are more likely to make you happier than that milk chocolate ever could. And trust me, starting off my day with a little bit of dark chocolate actually makes me a lot more proactive, as weird as that is, but it does. We're gonna jump straight into a 5th. I would just honestly stray away from all processed foods if you could. You know, obviously you can't completely cut everything out of your diet. And I also don't expect anybody to be able to follow all 7 of these tips right away. But if you could stray away from processed foods, the reason why they get you so much is not only because that high fructose corn syrup, which is super, super addictive and really bad for you, but it's also because the crunchiness of it. So if you do want to replace that processed food, get some crunchy alternatives, you know. Get some almonds or some pistachios or some peanuts, and do a little bit of research too, because eating too much of anything, no matter if it's processed or not, is not good for you, like I said earlier. And then we have another tip, which is going to be about feeding your kitchen. Most healthy eating habits actually start with how you feed your kitchen, because no matter what, none of us humans are perfect, and we actually are very, very addictive when it comes to our personalities. We are just naturally addictive personalities. No matter what anybody wants to say, nobody's perfect, and it starts with how you feed your kitchen. So be careful what you buy at the stores. If you can, get rid of everything that's not good for you now, and if you can't do that right now, then just stop buying it or slowly give it away to people. Just, if you're serious about this, you will use these tips, and I promise you it's gonna help you, because it's helped me lose like 25 pounds, and I still have a milkshake every once in a while. I'm not crazy. Everybody wants to have sugar sometimes, so we're not supposed to eat completely healthy always, but it does help when you do change your habits a little bit. And that last tip that I'm going to share with you is to do your research, you know. Look into your ancestors, look into your blood type, figure out what kind of diets would be best for you. Personally, I've been researching Plant Paradox lately, which I'm super fascinated by, and I've been finding it very relevant. I'm still not capable of getting on the plant paradox diet completely because there's just some things that I'm slowly having to wean myself off of, but it is a book for any of you guys who do like to read. It's by Dr. Gundry, and if you don't like to read, he also has a YouTube channel which I totally recommend you watching. I've watched a lot of his videos, which have been super beneficial for me. He has some on bone health. He has some about eating your sunscreens. He has some that are about creating longevity or making sure that the wrinkles in your face don't come as fast as they typically could. He has so many beneficial videos that have helped me to create better eating habits. And honestly, I wouldn't want to recommend anybody else but him because he has been doing his research for a really long time, and I've actually learned so much from him. He has such great and to the point informational videos, and I honestly look up to him if I'm being honest. But those are going to be my 7 tips on how to create better eating habits. And remember, creating better habits, not just eating habits, but better habits overall, is not about stopping them. It is about finding replacements and slowly making little 1% changes towards getting your goals accomplished. Anyways, thank you guys for staying tuned. I love you as always. Please comment down below if you have any suggestions. Go ahead and talk to me in person if you see me. I've actually had quite a few people come up to me and give me some suggestions, which I adore and I appreciate so much. But go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to see more content. We're just going to keep getting better at this. Like, obviously, I'm towards the beginning of me doing this, but consistency is key, and that is exactly what this video is talking about, is being consistent and making those 1% overall changes. Nobody is going to be able to be perfect overnight, guys, but I do appreciate everybody who does stay tuned and watches these videos. I love you, and I hope you have a good night.